Welcome, everyone, to Academy for the LCS Summer Academy Split 2022. It is a fun one here as we're cresting into day number 2 of the split. I can't believe we're already here. I feel like day 1 went by without a breeze, bunch of 2-0s across the board, and then here we are into day 2 with some serious action on to Stream B, the Path to LCS stream. I'm Mazel, joined again by the lovely Cubby and Magical. I just seem to be stuck with you two guys. But how are you doing today? I see Cubby, you're still back in the same place, getting surrounded by C-Lol folk.
Yeah, the teams are getting ready to hit the stage here in a couple hours in the LCS studio, and across all 3 affiliated streams, we're going to have developmental League of Legends being broadcasted simultaneously. So a great day if you are a fan of the NA developmental scene, whether that is collegiate, whether that is here in Academy. Should be a lot of fun. And Mazel, it's great to be stuck with you guys. It's magical. Another day on the broadcast.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited for this one. I mean, like you were talking about, it's also an exciting day all around. The fact that there's so much for the developmental leagues, just to show a lot of the upcoming talent for NA, saying, hey, there's a bunch of it. I'm always a big fan of that.
I'm just saying, I got to get out of the way, right? Like, Got to give a shout out to the Maryville squad. The Maryville boys. I'm showing my bias. I'm not on the broadcast. I might be going later. Maryville, you got this. This is another dub. This is a national championship for the Saints. I believe. I know they can bring this to a dub. I know today they'll come out with a victory in their best of 3. So good luck to the Maryville Saints.
Hey.
I know you'll take out the dub.
No. It's all about my alum. Gotta go UCI.
Wow.
Zot, zot.
I got the
Zot,
UCI.
zot.
All right.
Zot, zot.
I coached a team and co-founded the program, but I've got no collegiate gear.
Where are you at? I guess you're there. So
yeah, I am. I do not have a wardrobe behind me. I am in the True Damage streaming room here at the LCS studio. Big shout out again to Riot for letting me use this week, so I can be a part of both, do some double dipping, and excited to I am excited about the best 3s that are hitting collegiate today. I'm excited to hop into the best of 2s that we have for Academy, as we have a couple of good ones on this stream.
It's going to be a great one. We have a lot of games to cover across both streams. But before we get to any of that, did want to do a little bit of a shout out to the amateur circuit going on. We've got the PGCQ number 1 groups bracket here, Cubby, and a little bit of a breakdown to some of these teams that we're seeing run through this bracket.
Yeah, honestly, so first off, congrats to 100 Thieves Next and Jake's Kittens on making it to the bracket stage. The other matches that you see, that is going to be a best of 3 where it's do or die. Win, move on the top 8, get more points to try and make proving grounds at the end of the split, or you lose, you have to wait for the second OQ of the summer. So, Maryville, Cincinnati Fear, and third-party AoE Ginger Turmeric, honestly, 2 pretty closely contested best of 3s.
The revenge match.
Yeah, it is revenge matches, at least for Maryville, or I should say Cincinnati Fear.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm going to favor Maryville a little bit in that one, but honestly, I'm excited about the other match. I think third party is a team that's really emerged. I'm a fan of Munchie on that team, and going up against AoE Ginger Turmeric, I will say I do favor that squad a little bit, but I feel like that's going to be a closer best of 3 than most amateur fans think.
It is going to be a fun one. And we also do have the other side of the bracket, number 2, coming up. And Magical, I know you had a few thoughts on some of the teams.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when we look at a lot of these games, like EGP winning, even in a close series against Taco Gaming, is what we kind of expected. We still have to wait for, the Taco Gaming versus Supernova story, and I'm personally a little bit biased towards Taco Gaming. One, they had already beat them 2-0, but the fact that I think Taco Gaming is a really strong squad that I expect great things out of. But the big surprise for me was 300 losing to CLG Faith. I guess I should have had more faith in the Faith, because those games were absolutely dominant from them. Everyone went in pretty much saying that 300 were the favorite team. They looked really good. They took a game off of AoE Esports, which is another strong team, and then CLG they stepped up their game, and now I'm rooting for them. I'm hoping they get their revenge against Team Pending, who got knocked down by the team that they had at least taken a game off of.
Yeah, I have to say, early this season, started to become a big fan of Talent, their midnighter for CLG.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Collie.
Collie's nasty, yeah.
got a couple of pop-off plays on that one to make some names, for sure. Got to keep an eye on the amateur circuit as we do lead into the season. There's still a lot to be played over there, so make sure you're keeping an eye on the Path to LCS Twitter to get updated with all that. But we got to scope back into Academy itself, and we got some highlights we wanted to do and some key players to watch for this stream for Academy in general, just to kick off the season. I want to get your guys, as my would-be analysts on the desk, get your guys' opinion. So, Cubby, who would be your player to watch in Academy to start off the split?
Yeah, so of course, we are doing this across both streams, so nice to hear some of the shout-outs we have from Sierra, Joshi, and Deserex as well. I must say, I'm aligned with Deserex in this one. I talked a lot about Sheeden yesterday. I know that it was a pretty abysmal debut for the Cloud9 Academy roster. Of course, they do have 3 subs. They have come in very last second, so we didn't expect for them to be full strength. I also didn't expect for them to lose as hard as they did to TSM. That said, my opinion of Sheeden has not changed. Again, rank 1 and rank 2 simultaneously in NA. If you watch Sheeden's point of view of any data on, tuning into his streams, it is impossible not to be excited about the potential this player has mechanically. It's just going to be about learning how to jungle in a competitive, stage and at this level of play. Sheeden does have some competitive experience. Talked about how in the past he has been, the emergency sub to go to if people needed someone to sit in on scrims. If you talk to other junglers around the space, there is already a lot of respect for Sheeden as a player. People realize how mechanically talented he is, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Sheeden grows and evolves throughout this split.
Well, see, and this is where I have to partially agree with you. I think that that apartment has something really strong in there, but instead of it being Sheeden, I'm looking at Chadicus Maximilian over there. Chad is, I think, one of these players that I'm very excited about. I was excited last year when he subbed in from 100 Next into 100 Thieves Academy, won the Proving Grounds that year. Then this year, we've seen how powerful this guy can be in the jungler and how much control he can take over a game. I think he's the new Kenvi. Kenvi getting promoted up into Immortals.
The new Kenvi?
Well, as in, like,
Wow.
the new guy who's going to take Kenvi's shoes and pretty much fill them out perfectly because he is that great of a jungler. I think Kenvi is an amazing jungler as well, and Chad's just right on his heels.
Yeah, just to clarify, you mean the new Kenvi at Academy, right?
Yes, that's what I mean.
There you
Okay.
go. There you go.
That being on the same team.
That's what
roommates,
that makes
Well,
sense.
I mean, they were also roommates, so who knows?
Hey, a little bit of melding there, but yeah, I can appreciate those shout-outs. Mine has to go to Bradley himself, just because the fact that this guy, having had a split in Academy now as a top laner, transitioning from the mid lane, and seeing a lot of the growth that we saw from him just in one split. I'm so excited for him to kind of springboard forward with an off season under his belt with the team, having the team synergy of the team sticking together and having, no big deal, but just one Proving Grounds last split. It gives you a lot of confidence to continue building, continue developing those building blocks for Bradley as a top laner and a dominant one to be. And just recency bias, no big deal. Yesterday, team popping off couple highlight clips there, so can always appreciate that for sure. I wouldn't mind bringing back up the Stream A players just to circle back to some of those players and talk a little bit about some of the highlights there. Get some input from the host and analysts from Stream A, just to talk about Ayla and a couple of those other picks there, but. I want to get your ideas on some of those that we did have real quick.
Wasn't it?
Cubby?
It was Ayla, Pretty, and Sheeden, right?
That would be it, yeah. So
So-
Pretty is the selection for Joshi. And I actually really respect this one from Joshi. Just given that, historically in Academy for the last few splits, it has been, mid lane's been about who can topple Ryoma. Ryoma has been one of the strongest, most consistent performing players in Academy. And I am really bummed that we don't have Ryoma playing in Academy because I feel like he deserves to be playing at this level as a player. But with him not being in the league, it does somewhat open up this opportunity for mid laners to kind of solidify who is top dog. I feel like we have to give that to Harry, given the history that Harry and Ryoma have, not only in Academy, but also in the Oceanic region as well. But who's going to challenge Harry? And who can maybe topple Harry off of that? If anyone, I think it could be Pretty. It's a really good meta for Pretty. I think Pretty was fantastic in Immortals 2-0 yesterday, and I'm really excited to see him and Chad continue to build up that synergy and Pretty to continue to try and assert even more dominance in lane and continue to team fight as well as Pretty always has.
Yeah, I think that'll be key and something to continue to watch as the split goes on as well. And always just got to give the shout out to Ayla. Feels good to have this man in the league. One day
Does
I'm
it?
sure we'll lose him. One day I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll lose him to LCS, but feels good to
I
have
wish
him
it would
now.
come
At least
sooner, frankly.
he'll be
I love covering
dominating.
Gala. Yeah.
Yeah, but he definitely deserves it. But I just wanted to give a shout out to some of those players that you should be watching here as the weeks roll on in Academy. Some of the new faces, some of the names we already know. But to speak a little bit to my foreshadowing earlier, Team Liquid Academy came out dominant. I mean, there were a lot of dominant plays and a lot of dominant games yesterday as it was 2-0s across the board. But Team Liquid Academy specifically came out swinging, Cubby.
I mean, the champs picked up where they left off, and the manner in which they did it. Like Team Liquid. I mean, some of these plays, there were a couple plays where Team Liquid just got out with health bars at 0, Mad Max. And some other plays, this outplay that Bradley has in the top lane.
Oh, that's the one I want to talk about.
Literally, it was
that
what a
one
freak.
is so insane. Like you talked about how there's a lot of plays that Team Liquid had where somehow they get out by with no health. I think many times they get down to double digits in some of these fights, like right here in this bot lane play. Had Hater not shown up right on time to save this game, and also this flash. I love that flash to pull back and choose so they can get this. But look how low Yon and Ayla are on the side. Armeo barely is able to survive. The shield wasn't actually even necessary. It was just they had barely any health to work with.
It's actually crazy, and I think having that kind of dominant performance coming into the split is always good for returning champions. But you got to keep that consistency going. So keep an eye out for Team Liquid Academy and the pieces that do work within that organization. Now, on another note, a little bit of a lighter note than the domination Team Liquid Academy did. Maybe it's not lighter because Dignitas Academy did dominate themselves, but we had a little bit of that Dignitas Academy content that we always know and love. It's continuing into the summer split, and we had them on scooters yesterday. They were just scooting all over the place, Magical. I don't know what to say. Just the fact they got all 5 scooters, they put them into the place. They always take the shots in. It works.
It's great. I love this picture. I mean, got to get the scooters going on. The scooter squad at OP. Also, the fact that Spawn has a little basket on there, so it's like if he needs to, he can keep carrying the team.
He's the only one. He's the responsible one.
It makes sense. No, because he's carrying the team. He's got to carry all the
guns. There you go. They can all fit in there. No big deal.
I will say some fashion advice to Deos. Love the jacket. You only need 1 button, right?
That's true.
You don't need 2. But I will say,
I'll be handing out fashion advice.
The deadpan look of Dignitas looking very intimidating as they scoot around LA.
I just like the fact it's scooting around. But thank you to Dignitas Academy always for those bits. It's always fun to have some content to talk about and to transition to, because the fact that we get to see teams wanting to make content, I think that's super huge. It's something we've seen a huge growth of in the last split, and especially into this one, and led by things like Dignitas Academy themselves. But we need to talk about what's going on today, because if you didn't know, you're here for Academy Games. We got 2 streams, so let's go ahead and cover what's going to be going on the Academy stream. Again, that's on twitch.tv/Academy. Who to thunk it? EGA versus TLA as the first matchup. We were just talking about Team Liquid Academy a lot there. Reasons to watch. Golden Guardians Academy taking on CLG Academy as the second series of the day. And the final series, 100 Thieves Academy taking on IMT Academy. That one's going to be a fun one as well, trying to see who can prove themselves in those moments. Now, we do have a secondary stream, though.
Yes.
It's on stream number 2, twitch.tv/PathToLCS. Brand new, brand spanking new. You got to put a follow on there. We got FlyQuest Academy taking on Cloud9 Academy. See if Cloud9 can bounce back from yesterday's performances. And TSM Academy, 2-0 dominant victories coming out of the gate versus Dignitas Academy themselves, dominant victories 2 out of the gate. Who comes away with the loss? Who comes away with the win? We will find out today here on Path to LCS.
Unironically, TSM versus Dignitas Academy is my match of the day. These 2 teams, after yesterday, just looked so good. From the macro plays that Dignitas had, sure, they were slower burned, but they always had control. Their draft was impeccable. Then TSM, the rampant just domination. They rampaged on that map. Game 2 is the fastest game we've had of the split so far. Obviously, only 1 day of play, but at 23 minutes and 57 seconds with 32 kills in said game just for TSM, that is domination on a level we just haven't seen from them before.
I might be biased, but my favorite part was the Soul interview. I don't know.
Soul's great. Soul is a
love
fantastic
talking to
person to
Soul.
have because, like, I've done some content with him already. He's just a great personality to talk to, and I've talked to him even before when he was on Immortals AOE. I'll always hype this guy up.
He definitely deserves it. But that does make it to where, you know, if you have 2 streams to follow, you need to figure out where to get all the information at. And you know where you can go for that? It's a theme. If you didn't know already, go follow at Path to LCS on Twitter. We made it easy for you. You got the Twitch, that's the same. You got the Twitter, that's the same. It's all easy. You just got to go hit those follow buttons, because if you want any information on any developmental, any academy, any amateur, you got to go follow that Twitter profile, and that is where, you know, everything, all the content, all that stuff is followed at. So appreciate all the follows. I'll appreciate all the love we've already gotten on the channel, and continue to do so as we get into Summer Split. But as we get into Summer Split, we got to start off day number 2, y'all. So we have FlyQuest Academy taking on Cloud9 Academy in our first best of 2 of the day. Now remember, with best of 2s, it's a little bit different. We got a little bit of a halftime in between, but starting this one off in particular, FlyQuest Academy coming into the Summer Split, no roster changes, keeping the same roster, keeping that synergy we started to see develop in the later parts of the spring season. And Cubby, I think that's something they can really rely on here.
And I think that, you know, we already talked about Team Liquid and the fact that the champs are back as 5 and had a great 2-0. That was the same story for FlyQuest yesterday against 100 Thieves Academy. Again, the other team that is returning as the 5 stack. And FlyQuest, the story for them in spring, it was that improvement. And a lot of that was around their rookies, UG and Spyrax. Them just getting used to what it's like to be a pro out here in LA. Getting used to the level of play in Academy. And really getting to the spot where, you know, they felt comfortable. I think Spyrax yesterday in his interview was citing, you know, his wrist was a little bit bummed in the last split. He's feeling healthy now after the offseason. And he feels like he's really ready to hit that stride and do what it takes to be, you know, a pro. And we saw that with FlyQuest win yesterday, where it was a team effort, same identity, you know, Philip on weak side, strong side bot, but the way they were winning games was very solid.
Can I just give a shout out to Diamond on that Tom Kench too?
True.
How many times he hit the Abyssal dive onto multiple people? That's a very telegraphed form of CC, yet he was consistently landing it. It was absolutely monstrous out of him.
Devour was our Yordle of the day as well, just to match it. So yeah, it was actually incredible. But something I do want to dive into a little bit more is a mainstay in what the new meta has developed to be, and somebody who's going to really need to perform in Summer Split, Yuji. Cubby?
Yuji, again, you know, it feels like every jungler in Academy is just someone that we're excited about. And it really speaks to the jungle pool that we have here in North America. But Yuji... what I wanted to see out of Yuji was FlyQuest opening up the strat book, because it felt like FlyQuest throughout their Proving Grounds run in the tournament, they formulated an identity, but it was predictable. It was oftentimes Yuji would path towards bot, and they would play for early dragons, no matter what team composition they had on the Rift. But yesterday, this was the play I was really excited about, because again, is Yuji pathing towards bot? Yes, but he is breaking the usual script of the game that they have, and it's Yuji using his mechanics to make a humongous play for FlyQuest. And frankly, the game was over after this triple kill.
Yep.
It is so difficult for 100 Thieves to play out of this. I thought 100 Thieves played pretty admirably in this game in what was, again, a very difficult draft for them to win. And especially when you get bot lane behind early, but I think that FlyQuest, Yuji, there is still a lot of growth in terms of him rounding out his competitive play and experience, and the fact that he's starting to read the map like that and make those calls, I think is a really good sign for Yuji moving forward.
I mean, we can't ever stop singing the praises of him, right? This is a guy that came over, played collegiate briefly last year, came over from Mongolia after making Challenger on, 3 accounts on 100 ping over there? Some absolutely insane numbers like that, and then comes here, struggles a bit in the spring split, but towards the end is when we really started to see him come into his own, really have that identity and the strength that he needed to, paired up with Spyrax. That's why we got to always just talk about Yuji, and like you said, Cubby, it seems like there's something in the water for all these junglers, because we always have to talk about junglers here.
And that's perfect because, I think when you're looking at competition across the board for UG, you're going to have to look at the new prospect in Sheeden and Cloud9 Academy's roster and being able to see how this roster is going to perform today. We talked a lot yesterday on the Academy stream when they were playing about, moments to shine, striking when the iron is hot for a lot of these sub players for Cloud9 Academy. But you also got to look at the players that are going to be sticking around. Copy, Sheeden, and how that kind of works out through that synergy, I guess, that you're trying to develop, Magical.
Yeah, and I think that if Sheeden and Copy can show that synergy, even with the subs, that will be a good thing, like a good statement for the rest of the split when they actually get the full roster back with the team, not having to play with subs. While Alorum, Wixie, and Trevor are playing admirably, it's always difficult when you're in a new scenario and having a new team that's pretty much just been brought together within the last week to then play because of all the visa issues. This is kind of what we saw back in spring for Cloud9. A similar story happened, and if you look at the results, it wasn't pretty for Cloud9 at the beginning either. But once they got the full roster, that's when they started popping off. That's when Malice, once he was part of the team, really started to come into his own because he could play those junglers so amazingly. And I'm expecting the same thing from Sheeden once the whole team's here, but I need to make sure that we keep an eye on how he plays around Copy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, as one of your players to watch, Covey, I think Sheeden deserves that highlight here as.
And for Sheeden, it was a pretty abysmal start for the side of C9. I mean, this is a tough situation, but C9, I thought game 1, their draft was really difficult to win and execute. And then game 2, they just got blitzed by TSM. I am still hopeful for Sheeden. I don't want to, come to too many early conclusions because I know this is still a very tough scenario for C9, just given all the subs and the situation that they are in at the moment. But I'm hopeful. And again, this is a player that we are really excited about. We are hoping to see grow. And I think there were some mistakes that we saw from Sheeden where, kind of that lack of experience at this level, I think, was exploited. But I am really hoping that as we move forward, Sheeden really starts to grow and come into his own. And this is, again, one of the most exciting high-ceiling players that we have in Academy. Yeah. Someone that we really feel like his future could easily be in LCS. We just have to see Sheeden grow into those shoes. And I'm really interested to see what that process ends up looking like.
And I guess then the question begs to itself is how do you see them approaching it? Because we got to watch the series firsthand yesterday. So do you see any quick adaptations, anything they can do to kind of prep themselves a little bit better coming into this series, especially against FlyQuest, who can be a stalwart opponent?
For C9, I mean, it's such a tough scenario for them. Again, I don't know how many scrim games they actually have. This was thrown together very last second. I think the best thing that they can do is just play easy to execute compositions. Just try and get to the stage where if you are team fighting somewhat behind, it's okay, but you are still able to play out team fights. I think their second draft with the Wukong, Kog'Maw, Lulu, we've seen that draft. I think that's a consistent start to a draft, and I want to see them try and go for, maybe not as aggressive early game compositions as we saw yesterday. Game 1 draft, Lilia was showing that's top in the first 3 and then taking Lissandra, giving that cleanse value over to the other team. I don't think formula. So maybe C9, playing scaling's good, but then again, that does play into the hands of FlyQuest.
Yeah, I think so. And speaking of FlyQuest, you had those strong games yesterday. You had the Tom Kench, and I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of flex. I wouldn't mind seeing FlyQuest, try a little bit of something. I don't know what you think about that, but maybe some more of the Tom Kench, maybe something a little bit more spicy, magical.
If it ain't broke, don't fix, is my opinion.
Cheat codes still enabled in bot lane, Tomo Diamond.
Why bother messing with the formula if it's actually working out so well for them? They are playing amazingly. The bot lane, Tomo and Diamond still popping off, still playing that lane phase like we expect them to. Bot lane with cheat codes after all. And then Spyrox mid lane. I mean, what was it? The Yasuo the first game, then Vigar the second game, where that Vigar
was awesome.
Yasuo was amazing in getting control against Jimmy, and Jimmy couldn't do anything in that game. And then the Vigar, almost the same story against Azir. It was just one of these things where Spyrox, he's got that champion Ocean. It's hard to really get yourselves in a position that you're going to be able to counterpick this guy because he'll play anything. That's where I think they flex things, is into Spyrox's hands, just because he can play so many different things.
Yeah, and I think maybe having a little bit of the collegiate buff today as well, the power of Maryville radiating out.
No,
you've got
UCI.
Spyrax by it.
UCI. No, Zot.
Mazel thought that he was being unbiased wearing the Maryville hoodie on an Academy cast, but actually it's Spyrax bias. So
That's what it is. That's
True,
what it
yeah.
is.
So
you really did mess
I can
up
respect
here.
it. I can respect
Biased
it.
host, yeah.
Hey, you know, I'm a host though. Okay, I feel like I can be a little bit biased.
That is fair. The host is allowed to be a little bit more biased than you or I, Cubby. I'm looking mostly at you,
that's
Cubby.
A cope.
Yeah,
that's a cope.
I'm
Yeah,
looking
that's-
at you, Cubby.
That's a cope. Yeah,
That's a cope.
you might be connected a little bit.
Yeah, Cubby, definitely unbiased from you, right?
Oh,
Right?
absolutely, always, yeah, always.
Though we
So,
all know I'm truly the most unbiased caster. I mean, what was
No doubt.
the stat from last split where I had the most even spread of like casting both
Oh
wins
my
and losses?
god, you're
for
gonna
team?
use results-based analysis. Oh no, we gotta get away.
Results-based
Magical's getting the
analysis.
big brain over here. We gotta keep moving. Chip Select is ready to go though, so we're gonna kick it off for our first game of the day. So Magical Cubby, take it away.
Thanks once again, Mazel. We'll see you after this game for our lovely intermission, but we got to get through this first game. And for FlyQuest being on the blue side, it gives them a lot of opportunities. They won't give them the counter pick, and I'm hoping that Cloud9 learned the lessons from yesterday, just watching the FlyQuest games against 100 Thieves, and go, all right, copy, you're getting last pick.
Potentially, and it's something historically we have seen with Alorum teams, but it looks like the focus early still very much on jungle, as Sheeden getting the Kenvi treatment. No Graves, no Kindred. Potentially
treatment?
FlyQuest setting up for an early VA. Yeah, it's a great.
Well, it's not that. I see it more as this is the Cloud9 treatment, because Malice before him had this exact same
That's
thing
true.
in spring, where it
That's
just
true.
banned all the junglers away from the Cloud9 jungler, so he has less of a time to actually dominate.
That's true. I like that reference. But with all these hands being focused on the jungle, it does leave open some of the power picks we have seen on this patch. One of that being the Gwen. So instantly locked in here by the side of FlyQuest. We see how many answers that C9 has. I think specifically with a lot of the junglers taken off the board, some of these are actually very powerful in the Viego. I would not be surprised if we see that locked in here by C9 and Sheeden.
I would expect that as well, but Wukong is also up, and that's something that he's tended to put a little bit of preference on. I'm also curious looking at that Gwen and seeing where it's actually going to end up, because yesterday we saw that Golden Guardians Academy were willing to flex that around. They were willing to put that into Caden's hands and into Concept's hands. So here for Philip, I expect Philip to get it, just knowing how he plays as a player, and with Wukong not being touched by the side of Cloud9, giving Yuji something that can really work well with the team makes sense.
Yeah, and looking at this draft already for FlyQuest, so this is going to be the Wukong locked in. Things are already really tough for Callista. Callista does not have a good time in the Wukong, as of course, knockups, you can't really jump away from those, can't stack up anything that helps you against that. So you combine that with Gwen, already a lot of ways to attack Callista. Something I do like though, the Lilia being let through, seems like this has been a big pick for C9 early in the split. Here to see if that Lilia ends up being flexed to jungle or top.
Same here.
C9, some of the options moving forward. I would like if they maintain that Lilia flex going into the next phase of draft. I feel like
Agreed.
showing it now would be a mistake. So maybe we see, it could be one of the angles where we see a mid laner locked in. I mean, you could take Coffee's champion and ban out a couple counters, protect that Lilia flex.
I think you go
slam a
support. Yeah, I think you slam
maybe
a
just
support
slam
here
support.
personally, just because keep the flex for Alorum Sheeden, whether it's going to be the Lilia top or jungle. You also make it so that Copy has that potential to get that counter pick at the very end, which is something I wanted to see, especially against someone like Spyrax. Spyrax and Insanity, I think, are two players that we're already seeing in Academy that you kind of have to counter pick, because how many different champions and styles they can play.
Yeah, the champion oceans, as you always like to talk about, Mad Magic.
Yep.
As,
Gotta go surfing in the ocean, you know.
Yeah, I you know, you're just a Cali boy. You're talking about oceans. You got a pizza shirt on.
Pizza.
You know, yeah, pizza. As did highlight the Viego, the first phase of draft, still being a powerful option for C9 if they want it. Looks like the focus on cheating continues. That Viego going to be taken off the board. Meanwhile, Cloud9 taking away some of the good combos with Helios. Wouldn't mind actually to see a Braum potentially taken away instead. Will be a Seraphine, so
Interesting.
actually targeting Diamond and also somewhat Spyrax with
Right.
that ban as well. We have seen Spyrax play that.
That flexibility that you were asking for at the very beginning, Cubby. They're making sure they can at least whittle at that, not let it be so obvious that FlyQuest can easily get these strange picks, move things around. Hell, we don't even know if that Wukong is necessarily for Yuji. It could be flex top lane for Philip. He has played the Wukong in the past. So it's one of those things that they still have these options available to them. They still have ways to kind of catch off guard the side of Cloud9, but Cloud9 slamming that Urgot.
Urgot is Alorum's most played so far this split. I don't want to skip over the Yone ban, actually. That Yone ban, that's very much targeted at Copy. That was Copy's second most played on his boot camp in Korea, where he did hit Challenger. So Copy doing that in the offseason, not bad. Also, not a bad matchup into FlyQuest might be looking at as having to blind the mid laner. It's actually Azir locked in for Spyrax. This is the first champion that I really feel like Spyrax made his name on when he was coming up before Maryville, even at Supernova Dark Matter. Their second team going way back. Because now Diamond has that support to lock in. Something likely to protect the Aphelios is they actually don't need a lot more engage. And
no,
honestly, they don't. Janna's tough to play in Lilia, but could be a lot of peel for this Aphelios.
Now let's see. It is locked in for Diamond.
Okay.
I'm a bit surprised, but it's that peel that you talked about. I think that's the reason why. Everyone else on the side of FlyQuest is going to ditch this Aphelios instantly. They're going to be like, all right, dive. Let's find a Kalista. Let's find a Renata Lilia before they can attack us. Well, Aphelios is kind of like, okay, I guess I die. But with Janna, not so likely. He actually has that ability to survive a little bit longer.
And Copy seeing that, not wanting to take anything that is AD and goes in, so will instead be the victim. So trying to play with that range, something that, you know, is actually a very good lane into the Azir and scales really well in the game. So Copy like more of that late game flavor. Yeah, that Janna, it's going to be really interesting because Kalista Renata is actually a very powerful lane. Renata has a really strong laning phase. That E is, you know, if you position it correctly, you get the shield, get the damage, get the slow. Really nice for Kalista to combo off of. But the Janna being paired up with this Aphelios, I'm curious because like one of the reasons I was kind of teasing a Braum ban is the fact that you already have Engage on your team, and Braum is so good at peeling with Aphelios. They complement each other really well with a lot of the guns that Aphelios has. Janna, that is so much peel now in the pockets of FlyQuest to protect that backline. And I want to see how it interacts because C9, they do have some ranged engage with the Lilia they can capitalize off of, but any full commit in the Janna, it's going to be big problems for the side of C9.
Right. Well, there's a lot of space-making potential from FlyQuest. The Wukong can act as like a buffer zone. You got the Azir in case shove him out. Gwen, exactly. Aphelios with the turrets if he's got the right gun setup, and then the Janna to top it all off, while also still having that potential to dive themselves. They easily can use the Gwen, Wukong, Azir to go into the backline, find people out of position, and when you look at the composition for Cloud9, it's fairly squishy. The only one who's really going to be tanky is going to be Urgot.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll have to see if C9 able to have a better showing than what they had yesterday. Again, tough situation for C9 having 3 subs last second, but hopefully they were able to pick up a couple things in those games, and hopefully they can push forward and give FlyQuest a bit more competition.
As we load up onto the Rift for our first game, it's still week 1, but it's day 2. We've got to see a little bit more of our teams battling it out. FlyQuest looked dominant yesterday against 100 Thieves, while Cloud9 was a bit rocky with the 3 subs that they brought in last minute. Weren't able to really hold their own against CSM. So what better way than taking out their rage on FlyQuest?
And FlyQuest looking to continue the dominance that they actually showcased yesterday. Again, taking that 2-0 against 100 Thieves. Tomo and Diamond just destroyed the 100 Thieves bot lane in both of those games. There was some help, obviously, from Yuji. That triple kill bot does make things tough for a Kalista Renata moving forward. But again, Tomo and Diamond, this is a bot lane now that's been playing together for a while. One of the bot lanes that, you know, it really feels like an Academy, you have to be able to topple Tomo and Diamond if you want to be considered as one of the top bot lanes in the league. And with them sticking together, I think Tomo and Diamond are looking to prove that they are one of the top bot lanes that we have in Academy this split. Try and take it out on Wixie and Trevor.
But playing passively, not really wanting to go too far out. In fact, you saw them really hugging that minion wave. While all the time, Wixie and Trevor have been helping out Sheedan, possibly trying to get him a better start than we saw yesterday, where Cloud9 got early on. It was really well played on CSM to make sure that Sheedan was going to have the time right out of the gate. So I actually kind of like that Cloud9 are defending him a little bit more. Even if FlyQuest weren't attempting anything, it's a good show that they've learned a little bit from the mistakes of the past.
Gonna be a mirrored start here for each jungler as we have blue buffs being started respectively. Sheedon will be ahead in the clear as Lily, of course, loves to speed through that jungle, but I think the punishment, we're already seeing it bot lane. Again, Kalista Renata, it's a strong lane, but it's strongest in the first few waves of the game. The fact that they leashed and Tomo Diamond were able to really crash that lane, the more levels you put into Aphelios, especially once you get to the stage where you have that blue-purple gun combo, Kalista really struggles into that and is vulnerable to gank setups. That is where Yuji's pathing. Again, top 2 bot. Philip being left to his own devices in the top side. So, really want to see if Trevor and Wixie can deal with this and try and find any sort of lead, because I feel like their strongest levels have been taken away from them.
Right.
The fact that they leashed for Sheedon.
I was even about to bring that up, because usually when we see Kalista, Renata, we've only seen it one day, granted, but a lot was played yesterday. It's all about that level 1, level 2 action. Trying to see if they can gain that lead at level 2, so they can then try to punish their opponent. Trying to see if they can use the handshake to get the stun early and get a lot of early damage onto someone like Toma, but they weren't able to do that, as you called out rightfully, Cubby, because they helped out.
And I love how Diamond's positioning on this Janna, because look at how far away Tomo and Diamond are playing around each other, right? They're never giving Renata any chance to find that stun by hitting her. So I think it's really, really being well done by the FlyQuest bot lane as UG gonna scout out, see that Sheedon has already finished up these camps. Should be resets for each jungle.
Pretty much knows that Sheedon was going a very opposite clear to him. Both scuttle crabs taken by each player. The only thing is that Sheedon is a little earlier on his reset, has that little bit of a level lead. Went back, while Yuji still clearing out his Krugs, then afterwards gonna be able to get that recall.
I think as this game moves forward, obviously a quiet early game, but the team fight from FlyQuest, I want to see if they can capitalize off these engages from Yuji. You got to believe that Yuji is going to be starting the fight on Wukong, but as you mentioned, Mad Magical, the follow-up potential from Spyrax on the Aphelios, from Philip on this play. I want to see if FlyQuest can utilize that to really make sure that they have these big early engages. The action on the bot side. She came to fix the wave with Tomo.
Nice root there. Gets the flash out of Trevor. UG, right place, right time. Reminiscent of Game 2 yesterday, where he did the same thing to Will, except it didn't mount with a triple kill.
And this is so punishing for the bot lane of C9, because now Tomo and Diamond, they have complete control over that wave. They can let it freeze on their side of the map as they match the reset. So this means that they're denying experience while they match the reset. They'll come back to a double wave. And it's such a lethal... I mean, this bot lane for C9, it's already over. They lost the flash on Trevor. They missed their window where they can punish. Tomo gets that first base, has the right guns, and now you just get to control the Kalista.
Well, Wixie and Trevor did cancel the recalls to make sure they could try to gain some semblance of control on the wave state. I agree. That's what I was about to say. I'm like, I think that's what they had to do, because like you called out, it was doom and gloom if they did not. If they let that freeze there, it is over.
We were talking earlier about, this team fight potential for FlyQuest. I really think that FlyQuest are the ones that are, going to have that onus. They're going to be starting these fights first. But I think on the side of C9, again, the person that we have to look at, that 5-pick Victor for Copy, I think if anyone is going to be able to play into what FlyQuest is throwing at them, it's got to be Copy. I mean, with this Victor, again, everyone jumping into you. You have the range to try and, delete a Janna, take an Aphelios out of a fight. Copy will not be under too much threat, especially if he has flash up in these fights. So I think that we really have to keep our eyes on this big mid-laner for C9. If Copy can step up in these fights, that might be the saving grace for C9 in the later stages of the game. But for now, we'll have to see if Sheedon can make any plays on the map. As level 6 coming in soon for both of these junglers.
When I'm looking at the moment at these CS leads, these early backs, trying to grab some items, seeing that Alorum got the early Tiamat, so he can play aggressively. This is what you expect out of an Urgot, especially into something like Gwen. You want to get some control over the lane state, constantly shoving Gwen so she can't move around the map. But I'm also looking at how big of a CS lead Tomo now has over Wixie. It's pretty sizable this early on.
And it's the textbook FlyQuest. It is UG having top to bot, affecting bot lane, and now
Dragon
halfway through that second clear, just hop on Dragon. FlyQuest, the bot lane's ahead. They have the push. Managed to crash the wave, and it's a free Dragon over to the side of...
Oh, that Squirrel almost was able to seal it away, just slightly off from Sheedon.
Nice scout from Sheedon. Sheedon will still be able to clear the next couple camps, stay ahead in the clear, but This is a great start for FlyQuest. C9 just down 1k gold and the Dragon strictly from the laning phase.
Right.
And really the only lane where things get better for C9 as this game goes on, it's going to be Copy on the Victor. So just, again, more pressure, more eyes have Copy really being the one to save the game state for C9 is they're falling behind, and really curious to see if we see the next play for this Rift Herald coming up next.
I almost feel like they have to, because at this rate, they're just giving everything, all these advantages over to FlyQuest, even if they're having a little bit of a skirmish in the bot lane, even looking to have Sheedan drawn down here. But that's the sleep available, cleansed immediately from Tomo.
Sheedan able to get a couple summoners out of FlyQuest, as that's 3 out of 4 being burned by the bot lane, and this could be the reset now. If C9 want to go try and make a play for that Rift Herald, could be the option, but Sheedan has Flash.
Has Flash, but doesn't opt for it, not without the sleep this time around, and also looking at the position of where Wixie is. They just want to get some plates early on. That gold that we were talking about, that's a play that is worthwhile for Cloud9.
All right, C9 able to get something with their pressure. Good stuff from Sheedan as he is able to interact with that bot lane. So let's keep our eyes to see if that bot lane from C9 is able to get this base off and then rotate to join the Herald as Trevor's base is canceled. Herald started by UG and Spyrax, and looking like the first 2 monster objectives of the game going to go over to the pockets of FlyQuest.
And this is where I like the play from Cloud9, but I also don't exactly love it, because I was saying that I want them to get these objectives. I want them to contest against Yuji, who's been clearing out well. He's always in a right place, right time kind of mentality. But these leads that he's gaining over Sheedan, while Sheedan isn't really gaining that much ground on top of him, is lacking. You need to make sure that you're helping out some of these lanes, because we talked about before how much power there is on the side of FlyQuest, with Yuji having this great engage potential, with Tomo doing a lot of damage, Spyrax, Philip once he joins in too. Those become difficult to contend against unless you're ahead with Cloud9.
To be fair to Sheedan, yes, the 2 monster objectives do go over to FlyQuest, but it is the bot quadrant being taken by Sheedan, and also 3 sums bot. So Sheedan did make some nice plays on that clear. I just want to see if we get the revisit bot, because sums are down, no cleanse, no flash. You can utilize this Callista Renata to have a pretty sweet combo with the Lilia sweep, so I want to see Sheedan after he wraps up these Krugs, reset, go back to the bot lane, and try and get the revisit gank while these summoners fell down.
Oh, nice handshake, pulled back in Diamond. There's going to be the Monsoon dodge away from the hop to take over base. Gall going to be able to get the knockup, but guess who's here right in time? Yuji on the other side. They could attempt to dive if they want to without low Wix and Trevor R, but instead they're going to crash the spinning wave and utilize that Rift Herald they've got in the pocket of Yuji.
And I love the visit from Yuji, because I think that this is a good read by Yuji. Well, I mean, not only that, but also reads that this is the period where Sheedan is resetting and is going to try and revisit this lane. So I think the fact that, you know, Yuji is here to hover and cover is really good stuff, and this prevents the revisit from Sheedan on the first take, so I think it's really well done.
Also, we didn't get to even talk about, because that play happened so quickly, the fact that Spyrax had used the Emperor's Divide to get the flash out of Copy, and now they are utilizing that advantage to get first blood for Yuji. Lilting Lullaby will put 1 to sleep and turn it around, so they at least trade 1 for 1.
Good response coming out from Sheedan. Again, at least something able to go in the way of C9. Still down 1.2k gold, as I am really concerned about this bot lane of Aphelios. What Aphelios can do in the later stages of the game could be dire for the side of C9. And again, Tomo's Aphelios, this was one of his most played champions last split. Again, remember the Aphelios Blitzcrank lanes that FlyQuest were running to such great success?
And I never got to cast them! It was always on the opposite stream of me! Yes, I remember, Cubby.
Yeah, 17 Aphelios games for Tomo last split. That was his most played. Again, oftentimes taking that side of the matchup instead of the Jinx.
And didn't he also have like a pretty absurd win rate, despite the fact that they started off really rough?
It was negative in the end, but you know, it got better as things went on. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'm just looking at the second half of the split stats then, because I remember him on Aphelios actually being quite disgusting.
The Zeri got pretty nasty. Ended up being 6-3. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the big one for Tomo, especially in that PG run. But we'll see if Tomo and Diamond really can keep on punishing this bot lane, as Wixie Trevor really down in those combat stats. Do have the Vamp Scepter though now. So if they are able to connect with some poke on the Tomo, maybe that is a window where they can look to utilize the poke to pressure this second dragon that we now have on the Rift.
Well, and with the flash about to be available for Tomo, Do we even see Sheeran try to make a play around that bot lane, or does he just forfeit it for the dragon?
I think we're going to have a fight of the dragon either way here, Mad Magical, regardless of what I think is alt cast.
Bates call gets the knockup on Tomo. That's going to be a hostile takeover, but it doesn't do enough to lock them down for a long time of the fight. You look at Yuji and Spires inside the pit. They've taken control of the dragon, but they're still 4-4. It's going to be the smite secured for Yuji, and Yuji, he's stunned up. He's pulled back in. He's killed.
Really nice play by Trevor to catch out Yuji. So, yes, the dragon has to go to FlyQuest. At least C9 gets some gold back in response.
Yeah, so the Dragon traded for the life of Yuji, his second time dying in this game, and Sheeran getting the kill credit for that as well. Look at his build. He's going for that Riftmaker, really going to be a terror. Something that can contend against Gwen as we scale up into this game.
And as we keep diving into this one, we will have to see what ends up happening with the rest of the scaling. I still think really the scaling, like, it favors FlyQuest, but the person that can break it is Copy, which again is why I still really have my eyes on Copy, is working towards that Leandri's Torment.
But here's a question to you, really quick. Why just Copy and not Sheeran? I think Sheeran's got a lot of potential in that late game as well.
Copy's got the range, man. You're Victor.
Yeah, but you got the Riftmaker. You're Lilia.
That's true, you know, I respected that magical, but Riftmaker, a little bit better in the sides, you know. I'm going to take the Leandris, come on.
All right.
Burn damage.
Okay.
Maybe we'll see Demonic second.
All right, if that's the case, then we'll have to keep our eyes on Sheeran, because right now there's a setup from Wixie and Trevor. Doesn't grab the handshake onto Tomo, so now they can start cutting this back. They've got the Ignite ticking onto Diamond with a lot of Ren stacks, pulls it out. Doesn't get the kill just yet. Now that Yuji is in the vicinity, they're hightailing it out of there.
Diamond does have that ultimate coming up shortly, so that could really cap off Tomo as Yuji.
Oh, Yuji, he's aggressive, man. Look for the dive immediately, but with how low Tomo and Diamond are, there was a lot you're hoping for.
But again, Yuji's here, and the first sign of trouble, any sign of, you know, FlyQuest bot lane going down, Yuji is here to cover. Yuji is here to protect them. Tomo gets chunked. Can't make any play off of it because Yuji is here. So I think Yuji is sacrificing a lot for himself. This is the right response and a good punish from Sheeran to take his top side. Yuji sacrificed a lot of his camps in order to make sure that his bot lane is set up for success. I think Sheeran's punished well this game.
Yes, I agree.
We really have to see if it ends up being a worth investment for the side of FlyQuest. If Sheeran is able to carry in the later stages with the bonus resources that he has picked up, that could be huge for the side of C9, but, you know, if not, if Tomo ends up doing his thing out of FLYA, then I feel like this investment from Yuji was worth it.
Because they got a lot of gold that early Gale completed for the Tomo after getting a lot of the gold from the plates and the first turret falling. But as you called out rightfully, Sheeran's been doing a good job of kind of counteracting a lot of that, where there hasn't been that much fighting, and sure, they have lost a lot on these objectives. They get this Rifter over here. There's the potential to get more gold onto Copy, really help facilitate this victor. And then also kind of utilize that Sheeran is in a great spot. If he goes Demonic Embrace, there's that burn that you had asked for, Covey. He's going to be able to do so much. And I want to see how Sheeran and Copy, this is something we talked about at the very beginning of the day, how they play around one another.
We'll see, again, Sheeran up 50 CS at this point. That is a lot for a
Oh, yeah.
And I think importantly, 2 levels. And again, levels more valuable on the durability patch. You get more stats per level. So being up 2 levels, even better this time around. See if Sheeran can make it worth it for the side of C9. Actually leading his entire team in CS. That's pretty impressive as a jungle.
Very impressive. Getting himself a lot of these leads. He's got 2 kills to his name as well. 4 stacks on Dark Seal for extra bit of burst damage. As long as he joins in some of these fights, it's going to work out well for Cloud9, but that's now the big thing. I'm looking at the pathing of Sheeran compared to Yuji. Yuji just seems to be constantly right place, right time, facilitating the team, building up members like Tomo. But Sheeran, while he's done great for himself, when does he transition that into his lanes?
I think Sheeran, do you have to transition it into the lanes? I mean, at this point, Copy is pretty self-sufficient on the Victor, has that up all P's, so we'll be able to easily wave clear. I think the big thing for Sheeran is that can you transition it into some sort of objective stage? Because now if you're C9, that third dragon is coming up rather shortly, and if FlyQuest puts themselves on an early soul point, does force C9 to fight every dragon afterwards. So I think this dragon, we'll see if C9 is able to get the right setup to try and fight it. You can see their bot lane in that top lane at the moment are resetting, and I think C9 are going to try and make a play for this dragon.
I think the biggest problem I have is you saw the gold right there for a brief minute. There is a huge gold lead for Sheedan over that of UG, but then still FlyQuest maintained the gold lead all across the board. They've gotten a lot of other members that are going to be really important, such as Philip, such as Tomo, to have these leads over the competition that puts them in just as good of a spot as Sheedan to carry this game.
FlyQuest are here first. Spyrax doing a really nice job holding that choke as the 3 soldiers are out. Dragon started, C9. Look for Sheedan. Sheedan's got to be the one to find the engage with these Squirrel Seeds. That's not bad.
Trying to get there is going to be the sleepiness onto the back line and a hostile takeover on top of it. So Yuji, even though he goes in with the Cyclone, he's got to be so careful. They missed the Moonlight Vigil, but still got a lot of damage onto a copy in the back line. They're chasing down Trevor. Bailout. Can't bail him out this time around. And FlyQuest, they've gained control. Spyrax, man, this guy's a legend. I love those plays coming out of him over and over again to help make sure they nearly fully clean Cloud9.
We talked so much about, UG, Spyrax, these 2 rookies. I know that Spyrax made the big play on the back half, but Philip holding the choke, that growth on the Gwen was so good. That's what got everyone so low in that fight, man, Magical, and what enabled Spyrax to then go in and utilize that Shurima shuffle to make it a big team fight win for FlyQuest.
Getting themselves that 3rd dragon of the game as well, 1 away from a Mountain Soul. All these players coming up FlyQuest, and this is kind of playing into what I was talking about early, Cubby. Where does Sheedan help out his team? How does he make sure that the rest of them are keeping up with him and FlyQuest respectively?
It's tough. It was a decent Squirrel Seed being put down, but again, this FLYA, it struggles like in all the knockups, all the team fight. Again, watch this from FlyQuest. We're getting the replay on Spyrax only. Big play coming out from this Azir as, I mean, the flash from Wixie was the only thing that tried to save this one. The follow-up, so good. FlyQuest, that's a huge team fight win for them as this game starting to really get out of control now for the side of C9. Down 3k gold, down 3 dragons at Soul Point, and the fights continue.
Tomo, Diamond playing aggressively. That's always expected of these 2, making sure they control the control ward there in the brush. Trevor and Wixie might be answering them a bit in the mid lane, but the problem with Blissa is that she does have that big fall off. While she's great at objective securing for teams, this is why I wanted to see Sheedan try to really build up other members. While Copy is self-sufficient, Blissa kind of falls up, and we're even seeing here, Alarm has been struggling into these members of FlyQuest. Can't even escape from the combination of the mid-jungle duo with Copy and Sheedan nearby. Spyrax doesn't have Flash, but he does have Shurima Shuffle if he wants to be able to get away from this. With the TP behind, and they already got the fight coming in on the other side onto the bot lane of Wixie and Trevor. The Flash, not good enough. You're dead, and so shall Wixie be, while Coffee died in some other fight. I don't know how, but it all comes up FlyQuest, Cubby.
I want to see what happened in the top side, because I think that TP from Copy to try and turn something around might have been a potential for C9 to get back in this game, but now that they went down a 4-0, that's Baron for FlyQuest. This one seeming over as FlyQuest continues the dominance that we saw out of them in their 2-0 over 100 Thieves yesterday, and it really is off the back of UG reading the map correctly, making sure that Tomo is always set up for success, and then the team fighting from Phil Spyrax, so good.
This is a duo that I think really came into their own in spring, and that's why they were able to find a lot of their victories later into the season, did well in proving grounds, because how they play, the calls they make. They're one of 2 teams that stuck together, Cubby, and look at the coordination between the 2.
Well, that's why we're seeing Gwen banned on red side, I should say, for the majority of this patch is Philip.
Okay, Cubby, I'll say this right now. Gwen needs to be gutted. Just gutter.
They've tried to gut Gwen like 4 times, man.
No,
this doesn't work.
Let me do it. I'll just take away everything from her. She'll be useless.
Mad Magical wants the delete button on Gwen as
No, she can stay in the game, but I want her to suffer. For all the suffering that she has caused me as a caster and the players that have to play against her, I will make it so that she is pretty much how Poppy was in the past. Absolutely no value on anything, so that way you don't have absurd plays like this where you can just use the hollowed ground, get damage onto a turret, and nobody can stop him because he's invulnerable.
Well, FlyQuest, the siege continues in this game. Again, really seems out of control, out of reach. Here comes the engage. C9 trying to find numbers advantage.
Oh, nice flash. Well, not even flash. Nice go
Look at Phil.
from Phil to get away. And look at Phil.
Oh,
He's
no.
so aggressive. You thought you caught him, but you didn't, Cloud9. It is all Philip chasing you down. Wixie's burning, and there's a fight on the other side between Copy and Spyrix. But the 1v1
levels.
will go to FlyQuest. They have the advantage in levels. They have the advantage in gold, dragons, everything you could name, Cubby.
FlyQuest are going to find the fastest win of the split here as 22-20.
Oh, yeah.
They're
They
pushing
got
down
this.
Necessary. They got this one. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
What a game.
They take the crown away from TSM. Cloud9 were the team that suffered the fastest loss last time, and they will suffer the fastest loss again, but this time in the first game against FlyQuest.
And, I mean, FlyQuest, I think that we've spent a lot of time, rightfully so, hyping up Team Liquid Academy, hyping up the fact that the champions of Proving Grounds are back and they're here to play. FlyQuest are the other team that have stuck together in this league. What they've done in the first 3 games of the split, you cannot ask for more. I mean, these are great team victories coming out from FlyQuest. I know that C9 are in a really tough spot with 3 emergency subs, but FlyQuest are reading the map so well, and they are capitalizing on top of it. These game plans are really sound coming out of FlyQuest. Really like what they're bringing to the Rifts early in this season.
Yuji, he's just in the right place at the right time for his team. Always seems to just know exactly where he's needed at that exact moment, reading the opponent junglers like a book.
And the map read too, and again, credit to Philip, who left in the 1v1. Goes even as Gwen. What does Philip do the rest of the game? Just destroys every team fight that he is a part of. So I know that, you know, there's a lot of focus on the bot side, make sure that Tomo and Diamond can step up, can be aggressive, that Philip is set up for success. But this is a team effort. And the fact that Philip takes blind picks consistently, gets absolutely 0 resources in the top lane, and is still performing in the team fights, I think it's not really a focus on him, but there needs to be a lot of praise given to Philip because he's part of the reason this game plan works. Philip is self-sufficient, and that is huge as a top laner.
You better bet Josh is going to watch back this game and be like, this is why I support Phil.
Yeah, it's been good.
Oh, yeah, he's got some really good ones. But, Cubby, I think we're going to take a quick little break so that way we can have our halftime show with our host, Mazel, and get ready for our second game in this best of 2. Make sure you stay tuned.